So if you remember back in August when I was up in Canada, I stopped into Toronto, hung out with the team from TaylorMade, got to test all the new P7 irons, but also the UDI, and more importantly, the Tiger Woods grind wedges. I'm waiting for my full set to arrive, and a couple weeks ago, one piece did come, and that's the 60-degree wedge Tiger Woods grind. It's literally been sitting in my garage for like 2 weeks because I was waiting for them all to show up to like kind of put them all in the bag at the same time. But I can't wait any longer. I want to bust this open. I want to take the wrapping off. I want to test it out. I want to play with it. I want to hit some shots with it. I want to chip with it. Because I mean, I love the short game. And I figured why not do it all for a YouTube video? Because hey, that's fun. So I'm going to have a little short game session today and really compare this wedge, the grind and all that, with my current gamer, the high toe. I've switched shafts. I've gone to a KBS Tour from the Nippon Modus. I've been using the Modus for about 3 years. Prior to that, I did use the KBS Tour. So I've gone back to the KBS Tours. We're gonna take it on the golf course after we chip around with it because I want to be able to flight my wedges a little bit lower, and I think the Modus shaft is kind of making it difficult for me to do that. Let's test this out. Let's compare them. Let's see the differences, the playability, the action, the spin, and all that. And then more importantly, let's see how we can flight it out on the golf course. Moment of truth. Let's bust it open. This is the MG2, so it's got that kind of raw face. I actually used it for a little bit in my 54-degree wedge, but then I went back to the MG1. I just kind of, I don't know, preferred it. But when I got to test out these wedges, I was pretty blown away with them. And if you watch that video, you can tell. I mean, I grew up watching Tiger, and to be able to use something that he hand ground, yeah, sign me up. So this is the fun part. Oh, look at that. There's already a little bit of rusting. Boom. There we go. It's so pretty, you almost don't want to hit it, but come on, who are we kidding? We're going to do that. If you aren't familiar with the differences, a little more heel gone away on Tiger's grind, a little more of a kind of a ramp of bounce here, whereas the high toe was a little more flat here. But I mean, the high toe was pretty amazing. Tiger's is 11 degrees of bounce. My high toe is 9 degrees of bounce. First impression, here we go. I mean, I remember from when I was playing with it, like you could just open it up and it was so good. But then that little ramp of bounce at the front allows you to kind of lean the handle a little bit more with a 60 and drive it in a little bit lower and not be super worried about it digging, especially in Bermuda grass. And like that, I got a little bit of heavy, but because you have that little relief of the kind of two types of bounce, you really get away with it. I mean, this isn't the most scientific comparison in the world. You can kind of hear a little bit of the difference in how it goes through the turf. But then what I did find was like a tight lie. It was really easy to get that thing under it. High toe definitely it was easy as well, but I don't know. Tiger's wedge was just, wow, it felt so good interacting with the turf in so many different conditions. Well, we've got a really good test here. It's been raining, we got a wet, mucky bunker. Again, a lot of similarities. Obviously, aesthetically, the high toe looks a lot different, but what I recall is it was really easy to kind of get this thing up and under. And I mean, in a wet bunker, there's no room for error. So let's see what 60 high toe. See, there's not a lot. So let's see. I mean, there's no sand under here. I mean, it's hard to convey. It's more a feel thing. Okay, so like I remember what that felt like. Oh, you could hear how different that was. And that got a little bit more sand out of it. It's getting a little bit higher too. Huh, interesting. Nope. Doesn't matter the club if you catch it a little like that in wet band. So that really got through that heavy sand. I tried to dig there, and I noticed sometimes if I try to dig in heavy sand with this, I catch it fat. So yeah, it's just harder to get it up and out of this lie. That's a little bit easier. Oh my gosh. Yeah, wow, that's getting through there a lot easier. I mean, I still love that. That's just, I mean, you can hear the difference. You can see the sand. You can see how it's exiting. It's pretty interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, I can stand here and hit shots with both these wedges that are gonna be pretty much the same. When it comes to your short game shots, the level of your short game, the wedge isn't really gonna do that much to it, I don't believe. If you've got touch and feel, you'll be able to execute. Obviously, you need the right bounce, you need the right lie angle, but that's part of kind of that fitting process. Like if I had a lob wedge with 5 degrees of bounce, I wouldn't be able to hit the shots that I'm comfortable hitting. But because these are both quality wedges, I can stand up here and hit the shot I want to. But for me in my game, where I really need increased performance and more consistency is those flighted wedges from 80 yards, 75 yards, 95 yards. Those shots, I need to hit something with a little lower but more spin. I hit this lob wedge too high with not enough spin. So it comes down to having the right fit for what you want out of your wedge. But if you put me short-sided, it doesn't matter what wedge I'm gonna have, I'm gonna try to hit my feel shot that I'm comfortable with. But like this, I can basically hit the same shot with these wedges, but having a little more bounce in this will make that where it dug a little bit because of the Bermuda and came up a little bit short. Having a little less bounce makes that a little bit harder to happen. See how there was a little less dig, and that's because there's a little more bounce in this wedge. So for me, being in Florida, playing in Bermuda grass, I want a wedge that is suited for that. And it's a little harder to have the lob wedge dig at 11 degrees of bounce versus 9 degrees of bounce, and that little kind of ramp, if you want, at the front, at the leading edge. So for me to hit this shot and make sure I don't dig it, it's gonna come out a little bit higher. But then, like we just saw, this one, I can basically do the exact same thing, but this one will drive in a lot lower. And it's spinning a little bit more. So that's where I think this is gonna give me a lot more confidence around the greens for these type of shots, to be able to control my ball a little bit more when it lands. But at the end of the day, if we're trying to go high, it doesn't really matter what wedge you're hitting. If you have the ability to hit it high, you should be able to do it. But there, you just heard that dig just a little bit, and that's just the difference in the leading edge design and the 2 degrees of bounce. This feels great. And yeah, different shafts can have a little bit different feel as well. So yeah, around the green, I'm a big fan. Love that thing, but I'm more excited to put this in. Now let's go to the golf course and hit some shots. Before we go on the golf course, I just want to shout out the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. One of the best parts of my newfound job in the game of golf, not as a tournament player, is I get to stay home. I don't have to travel like I used to. I get to spend time with my family, with my wife, doing what we love. And one of those things we love to do is cooking. And with HelloFresh, we can enjoy affordable, healthy, convenient, and delicious dinners delivered right to our front door. So instead of worrying about groceries, we're saving time and money with our meals from HelloFresh after each day of filming or practice. This week, we chose the vegetarian option, and with easy to follow instructions, these meals are fast and stress-free, perfect to complement a stressful day of practice or a stressful day of filming and editing. So if you want to test out HelloFresh for yourself, go to HelloFresh.com, use my code AndrewJensen80 to get a total of $80 off across 5 boxes, including free shipping on your first box. Looks just like it. Way to go, team. Come out here to the fourth hole. Put it right here in the middle of the fairway. We're gonna kind of do like a bit of a ladder, and you're gonna see just how these can be flighted differently, and if I can, in fact, flight this one, the new wedge, a little bit lower because of the shaft change, because of the obviously different head, the different bounce and all of that. We'll let Shot Tracer show it side by side, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So right here, 103 downwind. So this is basically as full a lob wedge as I can hit, but not trying to kill it, just trying to flight it a little bit lower. So it's a perfect first test. Right at it, but that was to the moon. Little lower. But I mean, the difference won't be huge from this distance, but 10 yards closer, I think we should be able to see quite a bit of difference. So let's move up there. 93 to this flag. So this is basically a tight 3/4 lob wedge. That was my flighted swing. Really happy with that shot. Got a little steep on that one, so you can see it shoot up just a little bit. But again, distance control's right on. And with that, a little steep, the more bounce actually allowed it to kind of get through. Whereas with that swing would have been much, much higher because I've done it a lot. 83 yards. This is the one where to be really scoring well, we need to be hitting this inside 10, 8 feet. Really have control of the ball when it lands. This is basically right in between half and 3/4 feel. Want to control that flight and control the spin when it hits the green. A hair long. That had much more spin. I could feel it. One hop stop. Wow, that felt really good. So those 3 yardages were a great test from the fairway. But obviously out of the fairway, you can really control the ball quite easily. Let's do a fluffy rough lie, because this 103 yards front pin, this is one where it's easy to get this thing way up there, but not a lot of spin. So let's see how I can control the new wedge versus high toe. Little thin. Felt like I had a lot more control on it. And look at that. Look how quickly that thing stopped. Yes, it was struck a little bit better. I understand a thin shot will release a little bit more, but that's really interesting. And like I'm saying, this wedge seems to be a little high and a little low on spin for me. Struck that one really well. You can see it's much higher. Flew a lot further because it's easy for it to knuckle when it's not spinning enough. A little off the toe. But look how quick that thing stopped. Oh, baby. I love it. Not the most scientific of tests, but that's not what I do here on this channel. I play the game and I want to test out how things play. And you could see it clear as day, the difference in Shot Tracer, the difference in height, the difference in how quickly it landed on the green. So I'm really happy with this wedge switch. I can't wait to get the 54 degree in my bag. For your game, when it comes to the wedges, I set it back at the chipping green. You want to have the right lie angle, the right loft, the right bounce, but the rest of it is really about feel and comfort and confidence. And when you feel confident with your wedges, you know, the sky's the limit. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I can't wait to get the new irons and the 54 degree wedge and showcase those. Peace.